Okay, first and foremost, we would like to say all praises be to the Most High Ahaya in the name of Yeshaya. We're going to do a lesson today that's going to help clear everything up for the brothers and sisters out there who might be a little confused concerning the turn of the year according to the correct calendar. All right. First of all, again, I would like to say Ahaya Bahashim Yeshaya Wavarwa. Bless you, brothers and sisters. And we're really dealing with the real new year according to Scripture. All right. And we're going to prove it today. April Fool comes every April. All right. And usually it comes around April during the springtime because most people who have been programmed in the system celebrates their new year during the winter solstice, which is the recognition of a Luciferian doctrine of the earth. It's an indoctrination of the earth, or the time of what they call Aquarius, which is the goat head or the celebrating of Satan, and that's a pagan ritual. Now, what I will attempt to do, if it be the will of the Most High today, and it's not going to take long, we're not going to have a long class today, and we'll actually be able to answer questions. What I'll attempt to do, not just for us here, but for all Hebrews who may run into this particular lesson, give them the detail with scriptures as well as pictures, references, and links that you can go to so that you can do the research yourself and know that our calculations of holy days have been wrong. You have to realize, again, it's not our people's fault per se who've learned some of these teachings in ignorance. We picked up certain teachings once we learned we were Hebrews, but we began to follow the ways of the Khazars ignorantly, thinking that they were following the right way. So when it comes to Passover, in the past, again, we haven't been keeping Passover according to Scripture. All right, but as we come closer to the end, the Most High will give more understanding. Now, I'm going to go over a few things, but the first thing I'm going to go over, I'm going to give you a visual of what an original calendar looked like. When I say an original calendar, this is not a Gregorian calendar. It's not a Julian calendar. It's not a Gentile calendar based on Gentile celebrations. So if we can focus on what the Most High had in the beginning, and the calendar from the beginning, you can easily see the deceptions in modern day calendars. Also, you're going to find out during this lesson that we are not supposed to calculate the year calendar and the month calendar from the moon. And I'm going to show you in visuals. This way you'll understand. Usually if there's pictures and things are shown to you, your mind takes a snapshot of it, you can recall it, and it's easier to learn. Okay? And I thought I would do it this way. Why? Because, brothers and sisters, the more we've been bringing this out, so many letters, so much information, a lot of people going in different places wondering, is it correct? Is it right? So I kind of figured if I do it on the base level, all of us can get it today the same time, and no matter who you are, what level of education you're dealing with, you'll be able to come to the same conclusions. Now, what I'm going to show you here is a regular cycle of months. We have it here so that if someone here in the class that's present wants to see a copy of it, he can pass it around and you can see what I'm looking at here. All right? What do we have here? A cycle of a regular 364-day calendar. Now, this have nothing to do with calculating from the moon, which means you have 364 days to a complete circle. You have points 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are the changes of seasons, which signifies new months, which the Bible call new moons. 1, 2, 3, 4. 364 days. If you go off of this cycle that I have before you, there's no way possible you can get the year wrong, the seasons wrong, and the holy days wrong year to year. It's utterly impossible. Now, I thought I would give you a visual starting out to show you that the 364-day cycle have nothing to do with the moon per se. That's number one. Now, how do this coincide with understanding Sabbaths? All right? 364 days. 364. Right? 7 goes into 364 flawlessly. 364, 52 times. You got 52 weeks in a 364-day calendar. Now, there's a few things I'm going to show you, first coming from the Bible. Let's go to Ezekiel. And as you see, I'm dealing with things nice and slow, so that no one out there, no matter if you are a Hebrew, Gentile, whoever, you can follow us and get the same information out of Scripture. Now, I'm going to be using some extra biblical text, but the majority of information to give you this understanding will come out of the Bible when you link up precepts, and I'm going to show you. Let's go to Ezekiel. Let's read it out of the Ezekiel 20. Go ahead.
This is the book of the prophet Ezekiel, chapter 20, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 7th year, in the 5th month, the 10th day of the month, that certain of the elders of Israel came to inquire of the Most High.
So this is showing you elders coming to inquire of the Most High. But let's get straight to it concerning time. Now, as you know, our people who served slavery throughout the earth, and the hallmark point of prophecy concerning God's people, or the children of Israel, was our captivity in the land of Babylon, or America. We all know that we went through that captivity and are currently going through that for breaking the Most High's law. How does that coincide with the lesson I'm dealing with today? This was brought to mind when the prophets came to inquire of the Most High, when the priests came to inquire of the Most High, what would happen to us and why captivity happened to us. Read the 16th verse.
As a matter of fact, I'll start at verse 12.
Start at 12, yes.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12. Moreover also, I gave them my Sabbaths.
I gave them my what?
My Sabbaths.
It says the Most High gave Israel his Sabbaths. Now, mind you, so that we couldn't forget the Sabbaths, the Most High made the 7th day cycle part of your 364 day calendar cycle. So if you know when the year begins, you know when the Sabbath falls, because it's every 7 days from creation. It never changed, regardless of what, I don't care what they call it, Gregorian, Julian, or whatever the case. Before there was any such thing as Romans, we understood that every Sabbath, which they named Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, was the seventh day. And it was perpetual from year to year. No leap years, no Gregorian, no Julian, no nothing. Count 364. Each year, the spring would fall in the same time every year. Now, and I'm going to bring this understanding today through the Spirit of the Most High and show you how to calculate it yourself so that you don't fall and we don't fall going forward concerning this particular law, which is the law of Sabbaths. Read.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12. Moreover also, I gave them my Sabbaths.
He gave Israel the Sabbath, so he didn't give this to the Gentiles. So the people that are over in Israel today are not following the Most High's Sabbaths. Read.
To be a sign between me and them.
That means if you are following these Sabbaths, that is the sign that the Most High would make between his people and him. See that? Now, when it talks about the Sabbaths, it's not just speaking of the weekly Sabbaths here. It's talking about the holy day Sabbaths, the 4 change of season Sabbaths, and which is impossible for us to understand if we don't know when the first day of the year comes. Now, the reason we don't know, especially being Hebrews, is because we were taught by the Jewish people who follow the Babylonian Talmud to calculate the year from the moon. To calculate from the moon. And again, it's rare that you would find any Hebrews anywhere that are dealing with the Passover and the holy days that don't use the moon to calculate. Listen.
Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths.
Go ahead.
To be a sign between me and them.
So the sign between the Most High and his people is his Sabbaths. Read.
This is the end of verse 12. That they might know that I am the Most High, that sanctify them. Verse 13. But the house of Israel rebelled against me.
But Israel, God's people, began to rebel against the Most High. Read.
In the wilderness, and they walked not in my statutes.
Go ahead.
And they despised my judgments, which if a man shall do, he shall live in them. And my Sabbaths they greatly polluted.
And my Sabbaths, the children of Israel, our forefathers, greatly polluted. Read. Then
I said, I would pour out my fury upon them in the wilderness, to consume them. Verse 14. But I wrought for my name's sake, that it should not be polluted before the heathen, in whose sight I brought them out. Yet also I lifted up my hand unto them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands. Because they despised my judgments and walked not in my statutes, but polluted my Sabbaths. For their heart went after their idols. Nevertheless, mine eye spared them from destroying them, neither did I make an end of them in the wilderness. Verse 18. But I said unto their children in the wilderness, walk ye not in the statutes of your fathers, neither observe their judgments, nor defile yourselves with their idols. I am the Most High your power. Walk in my statutes, and keep my judgments, and do them, and hallow my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am the Most High your power. Notwithstanding, the children rebelled against me. They walked not in my statutes, neither kept my judgments to do them, which if a man do, he shall live in them. They polluted my Sabbaths. Then I said, I would pour out my fury upon them, to accomplish my anger against them in the wilderness.
So we understand that by polluting the Most High Sabbaths come a curse, which led to our downfall. So, everyone out there, regardless of what we believed in the past or whatever we've been taught, just think about it. If they have our records and know that this is the means to our downfall, who in this earth of the Gentile persuasion religiously would teach us how to keep the Most High Sabbath? Why would it be in the Gentiles' interest, as far as the government's concerned, to have us keep the Sabbaths? And I'm not just speaking from the Christianity standpoint. The Christians, we all know, compromised not the people in Christianity, but the institution of Christianity. Not just I'm not talking about the people who go to church. They just don't know any better. But we know the institutions in the 4th century under Constantine changed the Most High Sabbath to Sunday. Told the people that Christ rose on a Sunday. Therefore, we are to institute that and observe the first day opposed to the day that's written of in the Bible. So we're not talking about the total outright blaspheming of the church and excluding the Most High Sabbath and claiming that Christ says it's okay to make the first day your Sabbath. We're talking about Jewish people now who on face value appear as if they're keeping the Torah and the Sabbath. They also profane the Sabbath, and they will never tell us how to follow the Sabbaths according to the Most High, which is his holy days. Now, here's an example of polluting the Sabbath. I need you to go to 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha.
2 Esdras chapter 14, verse 1. And it came to pass upon the 3rd day, I sat under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of a bush over against me, and said, Esdras, Esdras. And I said, Here am I, Lord. And I stood up upon my feet. Then said he unto me, In the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses, and talk with him, when my people served in Egypt. And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt, and brought him up into the mount of Zion, or Sinai, where I held him by me a long season, and told him many wondrous things, and showed him the secrets of the times.
And showed him what?
The secrets of the times.
So Moses was showed the secrets of the times. Read.
And the end.
And the end. Go ahead.
And commanded him, saying, verse 6, These words shalt thou declare, and these shalt thou hide. And now I say unto thee, that thou lay up in thine heart the signs that I have showed thee, and the dreams that thou hast seen, and the interpretations which thou hast heard. For thou shalt be taken away from all, and from henceforth thou shalt remain with my son.
Thou shalt remain with my son, read.
And with such as be like unto thee, or be like thee, until the times be ended. Verse 10. For the world has lost his youth.
For the world have lost its youth. So here it is, the Most High is showing Esdras how old is the earth. It's not 100 million years ago. It wasn't a billion years. So now, if you can calculate what he's showing you here, you would understand how old the earth is today. Read.
2 Esdras chapter 14, verse 10. For the world hath lost his youth, and the times begin to wax old. Verse 11. For the world is divided into 12 parts.
That means from the time of creation to the consummation is 12,000 years. Read.
And the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part.
So here it is. This is 500 years before Christ. Half of 10th is 500 years before Christ, where he's speaking to Esdras. And when Christ comes, future tense from this scripture, that would be the 10th part. The 12th part would be 2,000 years from the time of Christ's birth. which calculates flawlessly to 2007. 2007 was the real millennium that began the third day, in which we're living in the 13,000th year. We just went past the 12,000th year a few years ago. Now, the Most High have allowed us to be able to go into the scriptures to not only calculate up until the point where we are, but also the years going all the way back to creation to date by using the scripture. So even though it tell you in Daniel the 7th chapter that they would think to change the time in the laws, by us getting back the Sabbaths in the correct time according to the Most High, and ignoring what they have done, we were able to calculate and be on the right cycle and understand what the Sabbaths are. Okay? Sabbaths are not determined by the moon at all. Read.
2 Ezra chapter 14, verse 12. And there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part. Verse 13. Now therefore, set thine house in order.
Go ahead.
And reprove thy people.
And correct the people. Read.
Comfort such of them as be in trouble. And now, renounce corruption.
And now we must renounce corruption. Hold that now. And that gives an example of polluting the Sabbaths. I need you to go to the book of Jubilees. And the reason we're going to Jubilees is when we showed you in Ezra that the Most High showed Moses information, some to tell the people, some to hide from the people. Jubilees was a record that was actually kept in the ark of information that the Most High gave Moses to hide. And it's amazing that this is part of Jewish literature today. Now, if Jewish people have this literature, then why aren't they calculating the holy days and the Sabbaths based on the information the Most High gave Moses? Listen to this clearly. I need you to go to the book of Jubilees. We're going to start at the first chapter in the first verse.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 1, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Jubilees, chapter 1, verse 1. And it came to pass in the first year of the Exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Come up to me on the mount, and I will give thee 2 tables of stone of the law and of the commandment.
Okay, so this is clear. The Most High speaking to Moses, showing information that you wouldn't normally see in the first 5 books of Moses, because the Most High told him information to hide. Now, Jubilees is a record of reasoning from the time of Moses. He went back and showed him creation up until the time of what the Bible called the consummation, or the time of Christ's return. Now, he showed him this record in Sabbaths. Jubilees is 7. So he showed Moses the beginning up until his time to the consummation in Sabbaths. Now, some people might ask, well, if Moses was showed the time and we have these records, then we would know when Christ would return. Absolutely false. Why? Because Christ even said himself that the time will be cut short. So the time of the consummation that was showed Moses, Christ will cut short, because he said if he didn't cut it short, no flesh would be saved. So those that are operating on the left-hand side under Satan understand these records too. So they use this information to calculate how long they would have to destroy us. So Christ, for our sake, like it tells us in Matthew 24, will shorten the days. So no man know the day or the hour. I need you to go to the 50th chapter. I went to the first chapter originally so we can see this is Moses at the mount. What mount? Mount Sinai. And I need you to keep a record of that, because the Sinai time is how you calculate the time of the earth in the new year according to our time today. It never changed. So make sure you make a marking of that this is the Most High speaking from Sinai. Now this is something deep when it comes to Sinai, because the coordinates and the information that you must put in is from the 33 degrees. The 33 degrees within the earth is the perfect equal point around that links into the whole earth. And everyone would like to just point it to the pyramids, but it's deeper than just the pyramids. It's a point in coordinates from east to west where the Most High revealed information to his prophets. And from those coordinates, you will understand the year to year. And I'm going to prove it to you. Let's go to the 50th chapter. You there? And let's start at the first verse, showing how one would pollute the Sabbaths.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 50, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And after this law I made known to thee the days of the Sabbaths in the desert of Sinai, which is between Elim and Sinai.
Go ahead.
And I told thee of the Sabbaths of the land of Mount Sinai. And I told thee of the Jubilees, of the Jubilee years, and the Sabbaths of years. But the year thereof have I not told thee, till ye enter into the land ye are to possess.
Now let's make this clear, and I want to make this clear because usually when we talk about Egypt, most people think of pharaohs and think of the power of the Egyptians, which were Noah's sons. Erase that. Why? The coordinates of Sinai and that area of Egypt that we speak of Sinai, was a pinnacle part of creation before the flood. Before Ham went there, before Noah allowed his son to go into those regions, something was going on in that area before the flood from the sons of Adam. Seth, Enoch, and all the prophets were operating in that area. That's where the Most High was communicating with his people. And as you can see, if you look at your map, Sinai of Egypt is really the border of Egypt that's bordering into where? Israel. So if you take the water out of the way, because part of the curse of the flood was the water sprung out of the earth, and that tongue of Egypt was made based on the flood, when the earth cracked from the sins of the fallen angels and the sons of men. If you move that water out of the way and bring it together, it's one landmass. And that was the coordinates in which the Most High was dealing with mankind before the Red Sea was there. So get Egypt out of your mind, because this was before the land was called Egypt. The information that Moses received was the information the fathers had before the flood. Okay? Now read that last verse you were at again.
This is Jubilees, chapter 50, verse 2.
Go ahead.
And I told thee of the Sabbaths of the land on Mount Sinai. And I told thee of the Jubilees, of the Jubilee years, and the Sabbath of years. But the year thereof have I not told thee, till ye enter into the land that ye are to possess.
Go ahead.
And the land also shall keep its Sabbaths while they dwell upon it.
Go ahead.
And they shall know the Jubilee year. Wherefore I have ordained for thee the years of the year weeks, and the years and the jubilees. There are 49 jubilees from the days of Adam until this day.
See that? So if you understand the jubilees of years, you can count back to Adam, to the day of creation. Read.
Wherefore I have ordained for thee year weeks, and the years of the jubilees. There are 49 jubilees from the days of Adam until this day.
Go ahead.
1 week in 2 years. And there are yet 40 years to come for the learning commandments of the Lord, until they pass over into the land of Canaan, crossing the Jordan into to the west.
So he gave a time stamp of jubilees of 7 from Adam up until the time that we crossed the Red Sea. So the Most High have always done things from 7, weeks to weeks. Now here's something key. Let's go to there real quick. Let's go to the 6th chapter. Yeah. Let's start at the 23rd verse and read it all the way through, okay? Let's start at the 23rd verse, 6 and 23. There's pieces that I wanted to pick out, but we might as well read it all the way through and let us break it down. So go ahead.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 23.
Go ahead.
And the new moon of the 1st month, and the new moon of the 4th month, and the new moon of the 7th month, and the new moon of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons and the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever.
A testimony how long?
Forever.
And as you can see, it says new moon. But when you go into the Hebrew, it's not the word moon from the moon in the sky. It's the word Kadash, which means month. So you indicate your 4 months based on a change of seasons. Now, I copied this chart, not that this chart have the information as far as vernal equinox and the different equinoxes. I erased all this equinox stuff because that doesn't matter. I'm focusing on the cycle here. What this is telling us, where my pen at here, is that for changes of seasons, there's 4 per year, which are Sabbaths. 1 for the spring, 1 for the summer, 1 for the autumn or what they call fall, and 1 for the winter. These 4 are Sabbaths. Now, how do you count them? 1 come in for the new day of the year, which we had here, which is what? March 16th. 7, and I'm going to show you how we got that. That's a new month, Sabbath. 1 will come here, which will be a Sabbath that will bring in the summertime. 1 will come here, which will bring in the autumn time, and 1 will come here, which will bring in the winter time. And that cycle will go flawlessly 364. Flawlessly every year in cycles of 7 from week to week. That means the first day of the year begins at the end of the Sabbath, going like from Saturday sundown to Sunday sundown, like we are in now. And the last day of the year will end what? From Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Y'all got that? Flawlessly. You have a week that starts from where? Saturday sundown to Sunday sundown. It ends when? Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. So the year begins and ends the same way a week begins and ends. See that? Now, how can you get 7 wrong now? How can you get the Sabbath wrong? It doesn't matter what the moon does. 7 is 7. 364 days, the weeks are flawless without any level of separation. The only time you needed to read the stars were if you were in a situation at night in which you would need to know how the stars and moon was aligned based on this cycle. See that? Y'all understand that? You understand? Exactly. They didn't use the night to calculate the 364 days. They used it so that if they were at night, they would still know what time they were in, based on where things are aligned according to the cycle. See that? Y'all understand that? Right? Now, of course, we don't deal with the vernal equinoxes in these equinoxes. Why? They purposely got the vernal equinox here, so that when you go and do your research on the vernal equinox, that would lead you to March 20th. That's why they have the word there to make you believe this is when it begins. But this was part of their deception. So we don't use the words like vernal equinox, because that leads to error. We're going to find out how you will know outside of their terms when a new year starts and when the new year begins. Okay? Now let's stick here in Scripture. Let's go.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 23.
Go ahead.
And on the new moon of the first month.
And on the new moon of the first month.
And on the new moon of the fourth month.
And on the new moon of the fourth month.
And on the new moon of the seventh month.
And on the new moon of the seventh month. Go ahead.
And on the new moon of the 10th month are the days of remembrance.
Are the days of remembrance. Read.
And the days of the seasons and the 4 divisions of the year.
In the 4 divisions of the year. Now, I went into this research before, but I'm going to read it again, why you don't calculate according to the vernal equinox. These are the things you need to know. In your link, brothers and sisters, and I'm going to share this also in the academy for the next academy we have coming up. In the information that I put the link there for you, if you can see it there. All right. If you type on that, the National Geographic also did an article that they know our people don't even look at, that says the vernal equinox 2012 first day of spring myth is busted. That they purposely put the vernal equinox in place, knowing that we would one day, the Most High would call us to understand his Sabbaths again. So they needed us to follow their vernal equinox so that we can think that the Sabbath falls on a Tuesday. See, they did this on every level. Even if you're dealing on what you would call a theologian, an educated level, they would have something out there for you too. Now, in this National Geographic, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I gave you the link, it explains how you cannot go by the vernal equinox because they tainted it on purpose. Okay? They tainted that information on purpose and made you believe the new year come in 4 days late. Okay? Now, let's get back to Jubilees where you left off that.
The book of Jubilees, chapter 6. This is the middle of verse 23. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever. So
he's showing you that on these days you would come together for feasts also. One for each change of seasons. See that? Read.
So that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the new moon of the first month.
Now, one other thing I wanted to go into If you are in Europe or different parts of Europe, you would notice that this coming Monday is a so-called bank holiday or an holiday for the European Ides of March. Now, while they have everyone else dealing with the vernal equinox, they got a holiday for a new year for the Ides of March, knowing that the new year really started when the sun went down. Our time, we're in right now the new year. When the sun went down, we began what? The first day of this year. And I'm going to prove it. And I'm glad I'm doing the class on that day, so that when it's proven and you have all the information, it'll be totally sealed going forward. So I'm glad we're doing it on the day. So it's totally sealed, no questions going forward after this comes out. Read it.
It says, these are written and ordained as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever.
Now, why did the Most High put these in as a memorial to generations forever? I'm gonna open this up just for you all here in the room. Give me what you think why the Most High put in these four to be remembered each day forever.
Help you keep track of the year.
Yeah. And what else?
So you remember.
That's why he said remembrance, right? Why did he say remember the Sabbath to keep it holy? Exactly. He knew there would come a time in which Satan would look to change times and laws. So he made it a remembrance, not just so you can remember the first day of the year. He put it in for 4 times of remembrance to keep us on track from season to season, knowing the deception would be so intense against us knowing the real day. So the remembrance is not just remembering the first of the, you must remember when the next season come in, the next season, because why? It keeps us on track of his Sabbaths for the whole year. So he didn't just break it down just for the 364. He broke it down in quarters too. Then he broke it down in what? In weeks. It gets no simpler than that. So why would he do this unless there was something to remember in this? Unless it meant something attached, unless it was something attached to our connection with him.
So every new moon celebrations on Sabbath, right?
No.
I mean sunset.
Yeah, sundown. Yeah. Exactly. But if you can remember them, you'll fall in 364 flawlessly. Like for instance, we know that the first month is what? 30 days. The second month is 30 days. The third month, 31. So it's flawless, just like that. 30, 30, 31. 30, 30, 31. 30, 30, 31. Why did he do it that way?
Repetition.
Because you got 360, but in between that 360, you got a pinnacle.
You got the 4 quarters.
Exactly. That leaves you just like a clock.
31.
Just like a clock. Yeah. Just like if you have 12 midnight, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock. See that? So you can remember all those 4 points of that 364 because it's one right in between each quarter. See that? Of course, we know the mistake why you can't calculate this according to the moon. And we're going to go into it. Because the moon gives you cycles of 30. See that? The moon gives you cycles of 30.
Which is 10 days short. 354.
Do your math. 12 times 30 is what? Oh, I'll tell you what. Because we're living in a time in which everyone have some type of electronic device attached to them. Pull out a It's 360.
Should be, yeah.
It's 360. It's 360. But I'm going to show you how you get 10 days off. The scriptures go into that. I need you to just do it. Do 12 times 30. You got 360. All right. Now, you got 360. What is your changes of seasons? I'm saying, if you're dealing with the moon, what is your change of seasons? Huh?
There's nothing to mark them if it's all 30 days for every single month.
Huh?
There's nothing to mark them if it's 30 days for every single month.
If there's 30 days for each month, where's your marker?
Well, there isn't.
So what day in between that marks the year? That marks your seasons? There is none. So if you have a 360-day cycle and the Most High gave you 364-day cycle, what will happen from creation if you just take 4 days away?
Isn't the moon like there's 6 months, 30 days, and 6 months, 29 days?
Exactly, because they have 29 days in certain situations. So you got 30, 30, 30, you got 29. So when you look at the moon cycles, they're not all completely 30 either. See, paying attention. And we're going to show you that in Jubilees. And in Enoch, it breaks it down. Because the moon doesn't do 30 all the time, you can't even calculate like that. Right? So how would you have your point of changing seasons according to the moon? It would do for more research, right? You would have to do more. Not that you can't do it, if you understand, because they was following things to be able to know what was going on at night. But it was based on what they knew during the day.
Yeah, which is the sun.
Exactly. They worked in conjunction. It wasn't a thing where people were just following holy days when the sun went down. You understand? But we're going to break it down. Read on.
This is Jubilees chapter 6, verse 24. This is the middle of verse 24. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever.
Go ahead.
These are written and ordained as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever.
Go ahead.
So that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the new moon of the first month, he was bidden to make for himself an ark.
What verse are you at?
This is the middle of verse 25.
Go ahead.
And on the new moon of the first month, he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day, the earth became dry. And he opened the ark and saw the earth. And the new moon of the fourth month, the mouths of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the new moon of the seventh month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. And on this moon of the 10th, and on this account he ordained them for himself as feasts, for a memorial forever.
See that? So these things were instituted before there was a law given to Moses. Moses is actually getting understanding from the Most High on the Mount what these feasts were about. See that? Why? He kept sending a dove out for what? To see if there was anything growing. And if there was something growing, if it wasn't anything growing, the dove or the bird would come back and live in the ark. Why? Spring didn't come yet. There was nothing that sprung up to show the beginning. You see that? Now, if the dove fly away and it don't come back, then okay, something is living. Things is growing. See that? So these were benchmarks in creation. So a lot of people like to say, and this is what we deal with, and I don't want to go too far off this because I want to come back. A lot of brothers and sisters who deal with the Torah and deal with the truth would like to just stick with Moses. When the majority of things Moses wrote down as law, giving it to us, was law before the flood. It was law before the flood. How else Enoch would be righteous if he didn't know some law? What was he teaching the people? Law. Okay? Common sense. So now the Most High is just now making it law on the other side of the flood. That's what's going on here.
So in Noah's Ark, they had the law too, like written or something?
Well, of course they had the law.
Like
If the Most High, listen, if the Most High told Noah, put 7 clean animals on the ark and 2 of the unclean, common sense will tell those that are reading that Noah had some sense of what food was clean and unclean. Why? Because if he didn't have that knowledge, then just say if he'd have put an unclean animal on the ark and they used that for food, then that animal would have been extinct. So they knew what animals was used for what. How would they know this? Didn't Adam name all the animals? Didn't the Most High give him dominion over all creatures? So you mean to tell me, with all that knowledge and understanding in the garden, Adam was ignorant to the functions of the animals? He named them. See that? So there was law. You understand?
Like a book form of written.
See, but the difference is, it didn't need to be in law because we were so connected.
It shouldn't need to be written down.
Exactly. You have to realize that is the same power we have with our brains now. We just don't utilize it. But everything we see and everything we come in contact with, our brain takes a picture. It's just that they had the power back then to do total recall. They could bring it forth.
They haven't been dumbed down, that's right.
Because they could use all of their brain except for like we operate now with only dealing with only a percentage of it. Even though sometimes we utilize it for things we need to remember. You got that? But back then we didn't need total we didn't need that. Because we were that connected with the Most High. You understand? So we understood.
There's actual scripture on that. The Most High was still showing himself.
Exactly. We're going to go into that at a later date. But understand when they were tempted, when we went into the lessons on creation, when they were tempted, when he says, I will give you knowledge, you'll be as gods knowing both good and evil. They knew a lot of things. Okay? I'm talking about beyond a Harvard professor, but beyond a Rhodes Scholar. I'm just talking about things they understood, that the Most High actually had to stop them before they utilized this information. So that's a whole nother class. Yeah. Exactly. Part of what Christ came to do is to put it back in our hearts where we don't have to teach each other anymore. In Hebrews 8:8, Jeremiah 31. Because that's how it was in the beginning. It was in here. It was there. You didn't need no man to teach you. It was part of our makeup. Right? Good point. Let's get back here so we can break this down. Let's go straight to it. Let's go to 30.
Verse 30. And all the days of the commandment shall be 50 weeks, shall be 2 and 50 weeks of days.
Shall be what?
2 and 50 weeks of days.
That means out of a year, you will have how many weeks?
2 and 50 weeks of days.
52 weeks in a year. So this is how you calculate. There's 52 weeks in a year. Right? Read.
And these will make the entire year complete.
These will make the entire year complete. Now, mind you, don't forget the Most High warned if we begin to forget this calculation, what he's given us, what would happen to us. Right? Read.
The middle of verse 30. Thus it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tablets.
So in the tablets in heaven, it's ordained. What we're about to read here. Read.
And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year. Verse 32. And command thou the children of Israel.
Now he told Moses, command the children of Israel. Now don't forget, we just came out of Egypt here. Command the children of Israel what?
That they observe the years according to this.
To what?
To this.
To what?
To this.
To this. Not anything else the Gentiles may give you. Not anything else. According to what I'm telling you here is the path to stay on and not profaning the Sabbaths. Read.
That they observe the years according to this reckoning. 364 days.
He says, make sure you stay on 364 days, which is impossible if you're following the moon. Because you have 6 months, 30, and then you have some months, 6 months, 29. So how would you be able to follow 364 days from the moon? Absolutely impossible. So that's why the Gentiles and the Babylonians had us deal with the lunar. See that?
Hopefully this will help the lunar Sabbath people.
Exactly. Yeah, hopefully it'll help the lunar Sabbath people. Yeah. Not that, let me tell you, their intent was correct. They knew that something was wrong, but they fell into another trap. There's many traps out there. But hopefully, if they see this information, based on their study, it will lead them right. Because they can take that same fervent spirit they were dealing with there and say, okay, let me see what's going on with this 364-day cycle that the Most High says we should keep 52 weeks. And see, because of this, because they tried, they would go at the new moons that was actually dealing with the lunar, and it would throw them off. Because why? It was 30 days. You can't get 7 into 31. So they would wait 28 days and wait again and wait till they see, and they would count from a new moon 7 days and start then. So every month the Sabbath fell on a different day. It was tough for them. Now it's easy. But I know it's going to be shocking to them when they do all that and come back to the fact that what they call sundown Friday to Sunday, some so-called sundown Saturday, has been the Sabbath the whole time. It never changed. It never changed. In a nutshell, a year began on what they would call Sunday, because you're talking about Saturday sundown. And it begins on a so-called Sunday, which is first day, or Saturday sundown. And it ends on a what? It ends on a Sabbath. See that? 7 all the way around. See that? Finish reading what you have.
This is the end of verse 32.
Go ahead.
And these will constitute a complete year.
These will constitute a complete year. Read.
In them according to their testimony, And they will not leave out any day, nor disturb any feast. But if they do neglect, and they do not observe them according to his commandment.
If you don't do this according to the commandment the Most High has given you, so when it comes to remembering the Sabbath, all this is what we're reading encompasses in it. Because to keep the Sabbath, you must be on the correct cycles. Right? Read.
The middle of verse 33. Then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order.
And their years will be dislodged from this order. Read.
And they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged.
Go ahead.
And they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Israel will forget, and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths. And they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee. And it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles.
Of the who?
Of the Gentiles. After their error and after their ignorance.
After their error and after their ignorance. Of course, the Gentiles would follow it ignorantly because the law wasn't given to them. Mm-hmm. See that? They didn't receive the law. They're like, you can't blame me. We didn't get it. So if you learn from them, you will be totally confused. Why? They are confused. Right? Read.
The end of verse 36. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon.
It's those that would make observation, or they would try to reckon the year and try to calculate the beginning and ending of the year from what?
Of the moon.
Of the moon. That's the error. And it's a shame because this is what all Hebrews everywhere utilize, including the Jewish Khazars. But it didn't start with the Jewish Khazars. The Romans were doing it also. Before the Romans, guess who were doing it? You got it, the Babylonians. Read.
For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon.
Go ahead.
How it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon.
Why it say 10 days too soon? Because you have months of 29 days. And when you break it down, all the cycles of the moon together is not 360, it's 354. 354 is the cycle of the moon within the 364-day cycle from the rising of the sun, which is the correct cycle. I'm going to show you how to calculate it in 1 second. Read.
For this reason the years will come upon them. This is the middle of verse 37. For this reason the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day, the day of testimony.
They will make an abominable day, the day of testimony.
And an unclean day, a feast day.
And an unclean day, a feast day.
And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean.
They will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean.
And the unclean day with the holy.
Go ahead.
For they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees.
And jubilees. Go ahead.
Verse 38. For this reason I command and testify to thee, that thou mayest testify to them. For after thy death thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong as to the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths and festivals.
So it says there's only one way to calculate the Most High's year. And the moons have nothing to do with it. Read.
It's the end of verse 38. And they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh.
Okay, now in order to understand how to start a year, Stick with us closely because we're going to break it down. A matter of fact, I'm going to make this part 2 of this particular lesson so that someone can go directly to part 2 if they would like. One moment.